Hey, welcome back to Driver 88, and if you don't know, I used to be heavily in love with my 507 C63, and I have since sold that car, but I still yearn for the old AMG, the one that made the C63 Black Series, the one that had all that emphasis on V8s and muscle cars. And when my mate Henry told me that he's just opened a brand new dealership with a whole bunch of new cars, I wanted to try a car that I'd never driven before, and that is the W204 C63 Black Series. So we're going to drive one today and see, is it really worth picking one up? What's happening in the market? And let's just listen to that V8 sound. So it needs no real introduction, the M156. This engine is so good that they still race it in GT3 racing with 500 horsepower today. 300 kilometers per hour with the Black Series. Besides the massive wide arches and the look, this car is all about the 6.2, obviously. 510 horsepower, 620 Newton meters. These were huge numbers 13, 14 years ago. You can get 0 to 100 in the 3s, low 12s, quarter mile, but honestly, this is the most satisfying engine just to turn on and cruise around in. I've never owned a car that was so satisfying to actually drive slowly, believe it or not. Obviously AMG, I don't know what it stands for today. It stands for anything you like, but it's definitely not cars like this anymore. So for me, the looks are just iconic. A modern classic as soon as it finished production, in my opinion. The massive wide arches of the Black Series. We've got similar scoops to my old 507, but what we do have is just larger panels, carbon everywhere on the exterior. The big difference also with these wheels, the rears are now 285s instead of, I think, 255s on the other C63s. That's a huge difference of 6 centimeters of extra tire across the rear to get you to 300 kilometers per hour. There's just something about this vintage of Mercedes and vintage of cars in general of the early 2010s. It seems like the very end of an era, and I can't get enough of it. Most of these cars are in white and black. I particularly like the Mars Red. This car doesn't come with the Aero Pack, which I'll show you now, which was a very expensive option. If you option the Aero Pack as well as the Track Pack, you got to 300,000 Australian dollars back in the day, which is huge money still, almost 15 years later. But looks-wise, I mean, you'll see now rolling on the road. Oh, it's just heavenly. So welcome to the interior of the 204 Black Series C63. I love this generation of C-Class. The buckets, of course, are a standout. We've got the red stitching. The side bolstering is good. It's a little bit too low for my body, but I think it'll be fine for you. Everything feels so much better quality and just sturdier, less creaks in here than generations beyond this. Stuff was just, I don't know, it's just such thicker leather. Everything feels heavier in the hands, and you've got these gorgeous analog dials. Look at those needles, just so nice. I really, really like this generation. It's a good mix of analog and digital. It's got everything you need. We've got, of course, the Alcantara on the gear stick and the steering wheel. That's not everyone's cup of tea, but you just need to manage it. You just need to make sure that you keep this nice and clean and look after it. We've got carbon everywhere, and everything feels so sturdy and solid. AMG badges, just gorgeous. Let's hear it sounds. The paddles feel nice and thick and good quality. Love it. slight twist in the body, just letting you know that there's 6.2 litres worth of V8 under the bonnet. And every time you turn this car on, it's just a nice little event. So we found a good photo shoot for the car. Dockland's always an interesting area. We just found this little round. I promise I didn't put this here, but I might be tampering with like criminal evidence or something, but it certainly goes with the Black Series, right? Interesting. Yeah, if you want to light them up at any lights you wish, that is what will happen. It's fun to do 0 to 100 in 2.8 seconds, but it's also fun to power slide through corners at any corner that you wish. Now the question is this worth it over a 507 for like twice the amount of money? I mean, on paper, smiles per miles, it's probably not worth the money, but I guess the fact that this is such a rare car, as I said, there's only 32 of them in Australia. There's way less with the Aero Pack and the Track Pack. They also made I think just 800 of them in the world. So you're really playing for the exclusive looks and the exclusivity of the low build number. Look, if you've got the money, why not? It's so iconic. But if you're going to be stretching for a budget, the 507 is probably 85% of the way there. Okay, living with the Black Series, I mean, it's not that much different living with it than the C63. The reversing camera, it's a little bit weird. It's clear enough for the year, but it doesn't sort of sit high enough. So you still have to kind of look out and be careful. The visibility is still really, really good though. The great thing about these cars, about pretty much all 204s, is the fact that this thing can be an absolute brute and you can fry the tires whenever you like, but then it plays town car, city car easily. You put it into comfort and it's just so satisfying to cruise around. With this new speed shift, I say new, the facelift of the 204, once you go from comfort to Sport Plus, the responsiveness, like, it's just, you see, it's just so sharp. All of that 620 Newton meters comes alive, and that's the brilliance of NA engines, which you don't seem to get to experience as much anymore. In comparing this to my 507, she is a little bit sharper and a little bit more eager to get on the apex. The gearbox feels quite similar. There's no denying there's a bit of weight there, but every time you thread the needle, if you can with this car, it's still so satisfying. The weight transfer is also pretty nice. The steering, there's not a ton of feel through the steering. It's not like a Porsche, but it's sharp enough. And the sounds of the gearbox, just the nice linear progression of power is just so beautiful, so satisfying to drive. And this chunky steering wheel just fits everything else about the car. Oh, I love it. The Harman Kardon, speaking of living with the car, the Harman Kardon's sound system is very good as well. These seats, they don't fit me as well as maybe other people will, but I still think they're better than the stock seats in the C63 because they keep you in place.
Now let's have a quick look at the used market for the C63 Black Series. So there's currently 4 for sale, the one that we just drove with Cavallo Prestige, and 3 others on the market on car sales. Now back in 2012, it was the only year in production. It sold for a sticker price of $267,000. And I've added up after taxes all the cars currently for sale, which averaged $314,000. So over this 13-year period, the price has gone up 17.6% over that 13-year period, not including inflation. I've also recently found some auction results. So an absolute unicorn car, Mars Red, Track pack, as well as the aero pack with less than 10,000 kilometers, went for 321K after auction fees and taxes. So I would consider that, given that is the set standard price at 321K, most of these cars with more kilometers and less options would go for considerably less than that. The market is softening a fair bit, but it's certainly still sitting higher than our pre-COVID days. Something also to consider is that a 507 generally you could probably get for half that money. They're sitting around 90,000 to 100,000 Australian dollars with relatively low Ks but higher Ks than the Black Series. Now, considering servicing, there's a lot of servicing history, thankfully, if you look on the internet for the M156. Generally, they're bulletproof if you look after them. The head bolt issue, I'm pretty certain, was fixed by 2012. And also, you do sort of see a number of heavily used cars with worn cams, but that is generally not an issue with the lower kilometer, well looked after and serviced vehicles. So you're not usually going to run into too many issues with this engine.
So if you are interested in this Black Series, our friends at Cavallo Prestige have it for sale. They've also got a whole bunch of good stuff that we're going to be reviewing over the next few months. A couple of STOs, Cullinan Black Badge, F8 Tributo. That's a car I want to drive. The last V8 from Ferrari. Yeah, this is driver 88. We'll see you next time.